Welcome back to the Blaze TV podcast. It's Ed Kimberley. As always, my guest on this edition, returning Blaze forward, JD Dudek. JD, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you with us, man.
Thanks, Ed. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Now, I cards on the table. I didn't meet you in person last year. I don't even think we spoke all that much. And last year just felt like a little bit of a whirlwind for various reasons. So I thought this might be a nice opportunity to take a little trip down JD Dudek's memory lane as well. Like give a bit of background on where your hockey journey was up to the Blaze, if you don't mind doing that as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, we didn't get to meet, which unfortunate, but no, this is awesome. You're helping me out here with Zoom, first time on Zoom, so this is good. And it was kind of, I just came in and got rolling right away and just kind of got it kind of taken over with the whole season and just buying in and trying to do what I could, and just kind of got rolling, and our paths just didn't cross. So that's why we're hoping next year we can get a lot more FaceTime.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get Ethan to sort out the Blaze Golf Day again this year in the first few weeks, and then that's always a good time. But listen, let's get on to the hockey, because I always like to do a little bit of background on guys, and one thing that I think we picked up over the last quite a few years now is that there are so many different routes into pro hockey. And you had a pretty interesting one, actually, because you played at some pretty good high school level to start with, like before college, before pro. And you had some real good success at both schools you went to, at Pinkerton and Kimberley. What was that experience like, as like prepping you for college and then pro hockey? Because A, you won some silverware at both, but B, it looks like it set you on a really good path.
Yeah, no, just where I grew up, Pinkerton was actually a school you had to apply to, at least for my town. It was one of the biggest schools in New England, and 3 towns got to go to it, and then my town had to apply. We had a small town, so I was fortunate to be in like the 10 to 12 kids that got to go. The school I wanted to go to was like semi-private. And the hockey at the time, like I was super fortunate to make the team as a freshman, and had a really good freshman year, and just came to find out whether it was just me growing with coach and one of the other guys I ended up playing there with. But that league was public school, and as well as I did, I just kind of had to move on and think prep school. That's kind of the route for East Coast kids like me. But I was super fortunate to play for a good coach there, and I had a teammate who was from the same town as me, Zach Sanford, who won that cup with St. Louis, and I went on to play with him at BC too. So it was cool kind of having him in like high school, and then to move on and be able to commit to the same college. So no, Pinkerton was awesome. Met some of my best buddies there, and went there for 2 years, and kind of shipped up to Kimberley Union. At the time was a pretty good prep school. It was still in New Hampshire, but I was 16 years old, and I was going to be like an hour and a half from home, and boarding and living away from school, which was cool to get that experience, but it was awesome at the same time, where weekends I could still come home. It wasn't terribly far away. It was just a little bit up in the mountains in New Hampshire. So no, that hockey was definitely a step up going to prep school, but also I was just ingrained from my parents from an early age. Just education's huge. It comes before hockey. So to be able to go there and get that kind of education to kind of set me up to go to BC, no, it was awesome. I'm so glad I did it, and I have lifelong friends from there as well. So
you casually skipped over the 2 state championships as well that I read about somewhere.
Yeah, so sophomore year, for me when I was a sophomore, and then Zach was a junior, we had a really good team. I think it was one of the best records, at least Pinkerton at the time had. And no, it was sweet. We the championship game was played at Verizon Wireless, which was Manchester Monarchs AHL team at the time. So it was a really big barn. And yeah, that one kind of it was one of those seasons that was so special. You don't want to kind of see it come to an end. And we kind of got that storybook ending where we won it. Like I said, one of the biggest high schools and kind of all in New England. So I had a lot of people there. That was kind of my first real experience of just like playing in front of a lot of people, which was nice. And winning that, yeah, that was awesome. And then going up to KUA, we had an unbelievable team my junior year. My first year I transferred there, we actually had like 14 seniors. just a lot of commits. We had a lot of guys, a couple guys committed to BU, UMass Amherst, Providence. We had a really good group. So we finished number one in all of New England prep school that year. Unfortunately got upset in the first round and lost to the 8th seed. And then came back next year. We had a new coach, Tim Whitehead, and I was fortunate enough to be captain of that team for my senior year, alongside another guy. And that year was special. We lost a lot of guys and brought in a lot of good guys to replace that. But we went on to small school championship. It's just like small school and large school it kind of depends on like the size of your school. I don't remember the exact number, but we were considered small school. We only had like 350 people in our school. So we ended up playing Dexter in the championship. So actually a kid I used to grow up with, Ryan Donato, was on Dexter.
Oh, yeah.
Got to play against him and we ended up winning that game. So like I said, championships are nice. They're fun and kind of cool it's nice to do against your buddy. Obviously we move on and we go into bigger and better things, and played against them through college when he was at Harvard. But no, to get that Pinkerton championship with my buddy Zach and the buddies I had at KUA, like I said, it's more you win something, you get that kind of hardware, you get that trophy, but you kind of just get those relationships you build by winning a championship with those guys. So
Cool. Yeah, no, for sure. Is that the same Ryan Donato that plays Chicago now, I think?
yeah, I think his latest trade was Chicago. I think he had a decent year this year in Seattle.
Yeah.
Played for the Bruins to start up. Yeah, his dad is a coach at Harvard at the time when he was there. So yeah, I kind of grew up playing kind of younger hockey with him.
Cool. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you've had some pretty star-studded CVs cross your path. I mean, we talk about playing in the USHL. By the way, before we do that, because you played in Dubuque and Chicago, I don't think if I picked two teams out of the USHL with completely different cities or towns, then I don't think I could pick a more polarized two places than that. So I guess two way different experiences between those two organizations.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, just being an East Coast kid, kind of moving out that way is kind of a big life decision. And when I went out to test it out, I met the Billet family I'd be staying with, and they were awesome. I was just like, if I'm going out there, like I want to stay with you guys, kind of thing. And like I said, I only have the two experiences from these two teams. I can't really speak on any of the other USHL teams, but I was just super grateful to play for both of those. I thought they were first class. Like Dubuque was awesome. I had the best time. Like you said, it's kind of way different than Chicago, small Iowa city, right on the border of Illinois. But it was cool. I had a lot of character. I loved who I lived with. I loved my teammates there, and that was a great experience. And then trade deadline, I traded to Chicago. Obviously having that big city there is huge, but I mean, at the time the rink's just in Bensonville, Illinois. So it's in a suburb outside the city. Obviously we're not playing in the city right there with those big teams. So I was kind of in a smaller town, and with just not expecting a trade, I was fortunate enough to be close enough buddies. We had a couple guys on our team from Illinois, and I had one of the players' families open their house up for me there just for the last trade deadline. I was probably only in Chicago for like 2.5, 3 months. So finished up the season. When I was there, we were in a playoff spot, made a decent push, but didn't end up making it. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed my time in Chicago. I'm super grateful for my teammates' family for having me too.
Yeah, I read, I think, I can't remember where you did an interview, but I read that you compared the towns to, if we were in Dubuque and we wanted to get something to eat, we could maybe do 90-minute drive to Chipotle. And then in Chicago, we got like 5 minutes out of the corner.
Yeah, we had my roommate, Blake Hillman, and then we had two other guys who joined us, and we were an hour and a half from Madison, Wisconsin. So when we would have like off days, we didn't have a Chipotle, we didn't have a Lulu, and those two things were huge at that time. So our off day, we would zip up to Madison and kind of get our food, quick shop, and kind of enjoy our off day up there, and then come back down. Like I said, it was just like a day to get away, but we loved our time in Dubuque. Like, you'd think there's nothing there, but at least for me in New Hampshire, like I'm a big just like outdoors, mountains. I'm a big ocean water guy. We don't really have that much out there in Dubuque, but no, the landscape out there is awesome, and it was a different experience for me. First time experiencing it, so I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, for sure. And you end up staying in one place for, a big portion of your career or a big portion of your life. You don't get to experience different things, and you only get to go around the sun so many times, man. You only get one go at it, so you might as well get all that experience in there. If we're talking about hockey experience, because you played against the US development team as part of your USHL, and we talked about Donato, you talked about Sanford, but then you got to throw in Austin Matthews, Matt Tkachuk, Clayton Keller, Kyle Connor, Brock Boza, blah 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 blah. I've listed them, but I could scroll through here on my notes. There's some really big fish swimming around in that pond, and I guess you can pick out the guys that are going to go on and do special things, even at 18, 19.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, at that time, it would have been when I was in Chicago. Actually, when I was in Dubuque, we played all our games against the NTDP, and then when I got traded to Chicago, they really hadn't played their games yet against them, so I'd replayed those guys again when I got traded there. So I actually played against those guys a lot, and just going to BC, a lot of those Boston schools, they take a lot of guys from the NTDP. So when I was playing, there was guys who were going to be my teammates next year that were already committed on that team. So kind of meeting them, obviously before our freshman year together. So kind of my teammates or my future teammates who became my roommates at the program. I had Casey Fitzgerald, his older brother Ryan was already at BC at the time, and then Colin White was on the team as well. So yeah, it was really good. Obviously they're a super skilled team, and they're the best kids at their age playing in the US there. So no, it was definitely sweet. And then we had to play the under 17s one time, and like I said, played against Matthews, and at the time he already had the buzz of going pretty high in the draft, or if not number one like he did. So no, that was cool. And he had that release back then as well. So it's cool. It's definitely that younger group of kids. They all have cages on, you have visors. So you kind of understand that they're pretty good players. Most of them a lot of high draft picks, but obviously you have your group and you believe in your group and want to go and beat them every time. So
for sure, absolutely. Should we talk a little bit about college? And before we talk about your college career, because you had a pretty good time there at Boston College. Playing NCAA sports kind of runs in the family, doesn't it? Because your dad had a pretty good NCAA career in playing football. I think it was on Sports Illustrated's cover, if I remember rightly. And forgive me, I'm not entirely sure what your mom did, but I know she was a sports lady.
Yeah, so they both ended up going to Plymouth State University, kind of a smaller D3 college in New Hampshire at the time. And no, they both kind of had crazy stories. So my dad, just youngest of 7, from Quincy, Mass, and he didn't start playing football until his junior year of high school. So yeah, kind of threw on the pads then, played 2 years in high school, wasn't really recruited that much, only having 2 years under him. So went to Plymouth State and just had crazy career and crazy numbers there. And like you said, he got all the buzz of breaking records and Sports Illustrated and Heisman talks from a D3 player, which was insane at that time. So he made a name for himself there and got a chance to play some games for Denver Broncos. Played there 2 years with John Elway, which was awesome. The stories he tells about that. So and even one of those years they were on strike as well, and just him being a smaller running back, kind of rookie at the time, a lot of guys going on strike, so he got some big time playing time on a Monday Night Football game against Raiders. Big game, a couple touchdowns and some yards. So no, it's just cool things to kind of reminisce about now and kind of sit back with your dad and talk about that. So no, he had an awesome career, and I'm super grateful for him. Not only as an athlete, but as a person. He's an awesome dad. So it's taught me a lot what it is to be a professional, whether it's hockey or football. There's definition of being a pro. So no, he's awesome. And then they met at Plymouth State. My mom went there. She played field hockey. She had a great career there as well, and did really well. And she kind of ran into that injury bug and had a lot of knee surgeries, and ended up going to the U.S. Olympic team for field hockey, but she got her 5th knee surgery, and the doctors kind of told her this is kind of the end of the road kind of thing. So
Yeah.
didn't end up playing, but no, that both my parents super athletic, and like I said, they've kind of molded me into the pro I am now. Like I said, they didn't play the sport I played, but it's kind of funny how it comes back around, and I can honestly say that hockey is probably their favorite
Yeah.
sport now to watch, and they're tuning into all our games as well. So
Nice. You kind of combine a little
yeah,
bit of the two. You've got the hockey element of mom and then the pads of dad-ish.
yeah, for sure.
That was really genuinely trying to pull that together. We're going to talk a little bit about college because I know you had a lot of fun in BC. But
Yeah,
let's talk about 2014 because 2014 looks like it was a pretty good year for JD Dudek. You committed to Boston College. You also got drafted to the Devils in the NHL. I mean, what a year! What a year!
yeah, no. So that would have been my senior year at KUA, and it was actually kind of funny. Just my recruitment process was pretty crazy. So I was fortunate to be committed before I was even at KUA, and
Oh wow!
just my recruitment process just is not usually how it goes. I'm super fortunate for how it went, but I just know that's not everybody's story. Everyone has their own lane to go. But I ended up going to that national camp, and again, I was fortunate that I had great line mates, but I was playing center with a big tall guy who played in the dub named Paul Bittner, and then he was on my left side, and then my right side I ended up playing with Dylan Larkin. So
That
it's
helps.
kind of, yeah, it helps for sure. And if I remember right, I mean it's a long time ago now, but um, I think us three were all like top 5, top 10 in points for that tournament, and it's kind of the tournament where every college scout is there. And like I
Yeah.
said, I was just fortunate where I walked away from that with a ton of phone calls asking
Wow.
for me to come to schools. And at that time, my agent was just like, pick your top 5. I went on 5 visits, and it really was a picking and choosing opportunity for me, which, like I said, I know it doesn't happen for everybody. I'm sure if that didn't happen at that tournament, it wouldn't have happened for me. So
Mm.
that I'm super grateful and super fortunate for. Um, went on my 5 visits, and as hard as it was to make a decision, at the same time it was pretty easy. I grew up with Boston College being kind of my dream
Yep.
school, and just to get that call from Jerry York and get an offer, and um, I needed to kind of take a breath, and it was a pretty easy yes for me. So
Nice.
no, I'm super grateful for how it happened, and I just know it's not super common either.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that sounds like a pretty nice thing to have kind of tucked away as well. You kind of, I know you were saying that your folks really wanted you to think about education. Obviously, guys know that they're going to play sports forever. So NCAA is a good route to, think about life after whatever sport you play. And then
Yeah,
I guess you can focus on enjoying a couple of years of hockey, right? Of like your high school and USHL hockey, because you've got that already in the bag. But as well, I read somewhere about going in the NHL draft the same year. You kind of realized actually this is an opportunity that not a lot of people get to experience. There's a chance that I'm going to get picked up here. So you hopped in the car, you headed down to the venue with the old man and spent a little bit of time soaking that in as well.
yeah. So that would be my senior year at KUA, and to be honest, like my parents not being hockey people, me just playing the sport I love and doing the best I can to kind of help the team win. I was just doing my thing my senior year, and I kind of get like teammates or people who are looking online and kind of buddies saying, "Hey, like you're on Central Scouting," and I was just like, I had no idea what that was, and I didn't even know it was like my draft year. Like I really had no clue, to be honest, and I was just trying to have a good year and
Nice.
enjoy my senior year at school, and like I said, graduate, all that thing. So um, yeah, I hear that I'm just ranked in the Central Scouting, and uh, go to finish my year. Like I said, I had 2 great line mates at that school as well, and um, yeah, so I talked to a bunch of teams, and Yeah, I actually we played at Fenway. We played Frozen Fenway for the first time, at least for me.
Oh, cool.
And well, yeah, it was a great time, but unfortunately I got injured and separated my shoulder at that. So that was
Right.
kind of like when I found out, yeah, I was ranked in Central Scouting. So no, I was talking to my agent and he told me there was a pretty good chance I could go in any of these rounds. And fortunately, the draft was in Philadelphia at the time at the Flyers rink. So that
Yep.
was decently close to home. I think it was only like a 5-6 hour drive. And like I said, it's really a weekend that you'll never get in your life again. So
Yeah.
I go down with both my parents and kind of sit in the stands. And for first couple picks of the sixth round is a lot longer than you think. So I'm sitting in the stands for a while in my suit, kind of sweating it out and kind of hearing the teams pick people who I thought I talked with the most. And um, first pick of sixth round was Buffalo, and I actually thought I talked to them the most. And when I didn't get picked up on that pick, I kind of put my head down for a quick second. The second pick of that round was New Jersey, and heard my name the next pick after that. So that feeling I got just kind of from hearing my name and having my two biggest supporters and two biggest people that are in my corner there, it's
I
an
know.
indescribable feeling. Whether you go super high in the draft or at the very end of the draft, it was a really cool moment with my family there. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll remember that day for a long time.
For sure. I can't remember the kid's name, but so I'll have to forgive me. But it was the guy that got picked last overall in this draft just gone, and he said something along the lines of, it didn't really matter to him that he went first overall or last. It was that someone took a chance on him, and that he got to experience
Yeah,
that and be there. And I love that attitude, and I think that's the right attitude to have.
for
So
sure.
just taking it the right way. It sounds like you definitely did. And being in BC in Boston College. You had a couple of Hockey East titles while you were there, which is pretty awesome. But I guess they were very different for how you would have, I guess, experienced them, how you would have been, how your role would have been in them. Because the first, I think you were a rookie, and then I think your second was maybe as a junior. So really, really different scenarios in both.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they're a little bit different from how you explained it. It sounded nice how you said it, but
Okay.
I think we won them. I think we won 3 out of my 4 years.
Oh, okay.
But it was regular season Hockey
Yep.
East titles.
Yep.
So that's awesome. We did the best throughout the regular season against teams in our division. And yeah, like I said, that's awesome accolade to have. But when we got to the tournament, we would get to the Garden, which is the top 4 teams when we play at the Bruins rink. So
Yep.
we'd have our bye and we'd win our first round and we'd get to the Garden and I think we lost in the semis once and championship twice. So I don't have any Hockey East like tournament titles, which was I think a lot bigger and one I would have loved to have won. But no, we at that time we were pretty dominant like within our Hockey East throughout the regular season. And
Yep.
yeah, if I'm remembering right, I think we won like 3 out of 4 for my 4 years there.
You're forgetting one thing there, bud, is that the Elite League are all about those regular season titles.
Yeah. It's a lot different with our league, but yeah, some of them we
Yeah.
didn't even see the trophy when we would win Hockey East regular season. So um yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of just a quick step in the road to the bigger trophies, at least for where I was coming from.
sure. I guess elite prospects can do a better job of breaking that
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
But no,
Sounded
we love
nice how
elite
you said it
prospects.
though. I like that.
Yeah, we love elite prospects. They make our jobs as commentators a hell of a lot easier. But there was a
Yeah.
bean pot thrown in there as well. I think you guys won a bean pot one year.
Yeah, that was my freshman year. Actually a crazy game. It was 0-0 against our biggest rival BU and went to overtime at the Garden, both schools
Yeah.
packed out. Just awesome experience. And it was just kind of a broken play throughout the middle. And Alex Tuck, who's on Buffalo now, coming through, comes over the blue line shot, posting in, and we won in overtime. We only have that one bean pot, so that's at least the 4 years I was there. They've won them a
Yeah.
lot, so we grabbed one while I was there, and yeah, I'll remember that one for a while as well.
Yeah, and those short game tournaments, like in terms of, you play 3-4 games maybe. That's it's a little bit fun in the Elite League, as you figured out. Obviously we've got the Challenge Cup, which is a little
Yeah,
bit longer. The league is the league, and then the playoffs are, you win
yeah,
4 games and you won the Elite League playoffs. That's
yeah.
the closest thing that we can think of when we explain it to people. Do you think that's as good a comparison as we can get?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, we kind of play the season we have our rivals that are already instilled before I even
Yep.
have been here, and what Coventry has done to kind of get in with their rivals, but you kind of build rivalries within the seasons you're having, whether how those games go, how many times you play each other, what happens in those games. So if you get the teams that you're most fired up, most going head to head with for those 2 games in that tournament, it compares to the Bean Pot a lot, just because it's just those 4 Boston schools. It's bragging rights. They're our biggest rivals. Like, and you think it's 2 games, at least in the Bean Pot, to win a championship. You're like, oh, that's easy. Like, why don't you guys win it all the time? It's like everyone comes out for these games. Like, it's hard. It's hard to win them. So no, yeah, I'd compare it to that for sure. Like I said, we have 10 teams in our league. We have 60 whatever in all of NCAA, but just those 4 Boston schools, bragging rights, rivalries.
Yep.
Yeah, like I said, 2 games, but it's hard, and that's why it's hard for us in this league as well. Like, you got to be on top of your game for those games. You don't go down 1-0 and you get to come back a second try. It's it after that.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. We can definitely talk about that in a few moments, because I think there's a lot that we can say about that from this year just gone. But
Yeah,
we talked a lot about the team accolades there at BC. You also got a Most Improved award, Most Improved Player award. And look, I know what you hockey players like, man. I've known a lot of you guys. You're all the same. It's all about the team accolades. You all never really want to talk about the individual stuff. But out of all the players that you look at some of the CVs that you play with at BC. That's a pretty nice one to take home, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the best way to kind of explain that is just kind of my 4 years there quickly. It's just my freshman year, we had a stacked team, all these highly drafted players. And I was really there to spend extra time on the ice, grind as much as I can, because I was, for the most part, playing 4th line my freshman year. Our team was unbelievable. And it was kind of awesome because I got to learn a lot from a lot of these guys who were big time guys, older guys at the time too. So I kind of took my medicine that year and just put my head down and kind of grinded to get better. And that sophomore year, we lost a lot of players, whether to graduating or we had a lot of guys sign NHL deals. So our team kind of broke wide open, and I got a great opportunity my sophomore year. And that was kind of my best year statistically, which was kind of nice to have. It gave me my confidence, not back, but kind of got it there within a college game. And in my last 2 years, I kind of got the role of being a leader and kind of I was placed as center with like 2 freshmen, 2 young guys, kind of my last 2 years. And I loved it. I loved kind of how I got to come in my freshman year and kind of learn the ropes from other guys. It was really kind of cool for me to do that to some other players and kind of take them along with me. And I'm all positive. So I don't really, I like for us to know what's going on, but I like for us to kind of be positive about talking about it. And so these guys I worked with were awesome, and they were good players as well. Like, I'm not really trying to be a teacher. I'm kind of just pushing them along and making sure that they know how good they are, because I know how your confidence can be coming in freshman year to a big time school. So no, it was good. I really enjoyed my time there. Whether I didn't play at all, like all 4 years, like that was my dream school, and I was just happy to kind of put on that sweater and do the best I can to help our team win championships. So.
Right on. No, I appreciate that. You picked a heck of a time to turn pro, though. 1920. I think you had some injuries. I was reading a story when you were in Worcester. You went through the metal detector there. They asked you to take your shoes off, and I think you were struggling with your back, and you were like, "But I can't bend over and do my shoelaces." So I don't know how this is going to go. But I mean, turning pro in that season, and then COVID hit. That must have just been a crazy kind of 9 months.
Yeah. So how I kind of went into that rookie year, I finished the year playing at finished at BC and kind of played on a PTO with Binghamton for the last month and kind of
Yeah.
got pro hockey under my feet there. And then my first year pro, I was fortunate enough to get an AHL deal with Bridgeport, which was kind of full circle for me because when I was drafted to Jersey, it was the Lamarillos who drafted me and kind of believed in
Okay.
me. And at that time, they were with the Islanders, and Chris Lamarillo was with Bridgeport. So to kind of get that deal was kind of me being out with Jersey, but still have the belief from them. And I just kind of wanted to go out there and have a good rookie year and did well in camp, but with Bridgeport, but kind of started the year in Worcester, which was great because,
Yeah.
like I said, I kind of moved around a lot and been away from home, but Worcester was only like 45 to an hour from my house. So, like I said, off days I could go home, get some family time in. Um, but yeah, Worcester was great. Had awesome teammates there as well. I mean,
Yeah.
you kind of can't find bad guys in the hockey world, but I've been super fortunate in my career. So that rookie year was awesome. Was playing pretty well. Was playing actually for our captain at the time. Played at BC, Barry Almeida in Worcester.
Oh
So
yeah, we know
it was
Barry.
kind of,
Yeah, Barry's there.
oh yeah, I forgot he's played
Yeah.
out there as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've actually I've talked to some guys about Barry being out there. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barry's an awesome guy, and it was kind of cool to share stories at the time because he played under Jerry York at BC, but we played kind of at
Cool.
completely different times. So we would always kind of go back and forth the stories and how everything's doing now to when it was then. So no, he was awesome to have kind of as a mentor in his last year and my first year. So he kind of showed me the ropes of pro hockey at the time, and he was great. Played on a line with him at some time, played some power play with him. So we were good buddies for that year, and then he ended up retiring.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, to get more into that, we get into the season, and um, yeah, we were playing at home on like a Friday, and uh, kind of finished the game at like 11 p.m. and we had to wake up at like 2 a.m. to get on a bus down to Boston to start our Newfoundland trip. And
Always nice.
so we get that, yeah. So I finished the game feeling fine. We get down to Boston on the bus trip, fine, and we fly Boston to Toronto, and yeah, I got locked up pretty good, and it's just
Nice.
from kind of sitting upright after just going to battle, and then yeah, I get out to Newfoundland and can't really move, so kind of packed it in from there, and just started rehab, cortisone shot, all that, and when I was probably just halfway through my recovery, and just the COVID stuff kind of hit for the first
Mhm.
time, and kind of shut the season down for the rest of it, which um yeah, honestly wasn't ideal, but kind of just it's just how it works. So like it kind of just started my path of wanting to come to Europe, which I did at the time, but I just didn't realize how quickly it'd be. And
Yeah. Yeah.
just after that year ending, just kind of the opportunity presented itself to make my first move over to Sweden. So
Yeah. Let's talk
just kind of
about that.
funny how that stuff works.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about that because I remember 2020, 2021. It's funny because you were saying before this about Zoom being pretty great, and we were joking that when I was at university, I couldn't have imagined if the world stopped, how I'd have been able to do that. But one of the things we learned through it was that Zoom actually works pretty well for these
Yeah,
kind of podcast interviews, whatever you want to call them. And one of the things that guys, were saying that we talked to that played that year was, man, it was pretty important for us to try and find some place to play. Like it could have been
yeah,
anywhere. Like it could have been in Spain, but it needed to just be like, as decent a level as we could. And particularly for
for sure.
yourself, you've had some rehab, you've just come out of your first year pro. And actually, hockey at Sand's a really nice standard of hockey. Hockey in Sweden is just ridiculous in general. But how did that deal come about in Bodenz?
Yeah, so it was actually at the time, I think I lost my agent and I was kind of um just like going after it myself. And at the time, like I said, I did start with looking in the States, and at the time there was only like 10 to 12 coast teams playing. So
Yeah.
kind of just found phone numbers from uh coaches I've seen who are coaching on these teams that are playing, and just honestly just trying to get a buy into camp just because I think I could have proved myself, and that's really all I wanted. And With how Sweden worked, it was always a place I wanted to start my career in Europe because I just have a little bit of Swedish roots with my mom's side. My mom's dad has family in Gothenburg, so
Oh, sweet.
um,
Okay.
I definitely knew I wanted to go over. I've been over there with like for 2 summers for like East Coast Selects tournaments. It was like called Selects
All right.
Hockey. So I'd been over to like Stockholm and checked out Sweden before, but it was when I was like 15, 16 with a team, with parents, and really not on my own, like not on my own schedule either. So I knew I wanted to go over there for pro. And it was really weird how it worked out, to be honest. I was just kind of catching up with buddies and was home for Thanksgiving and was just texting with, I think you know this name because he's played in the UK league. But Jake Bolin played in
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Guildford and then
yeah.
in Glasgow. So I was just buddies with him from back home. He went to Holy Cross and played junior hockey
Yep.
with him.
Good D,
We were
man.
just kind of catching up. Yeah. And we were just kind of catching up and he just kind of hit me with, we need a forward. And I was just like, well, I need a place to play and I want to come out there. So he kind of just name dropped my name to the coach and we got in touch and I guess he liked what he saw and kind of signed a week or two later and got moving out there. So it was kind of weird and quick how it happened, but I was super fortunate because I knew my first time going overseas, I knew I wanted to at least be with somebody I knew. One,
Yep.
especially with going to a country that doesn't have English as their first language. So they speak Swedish.
Yeah.
I know they speak English. They know English
Yeah.
very well. Actually, they've been taught it in school, but like the locker rooms are spoken Swedish. Coach speaks Swedish for drills. So it was really nice to have him. And then we had another Canadian on the team. So it was nice to kind of have that small group of comfortability with the English language quick. And like I said, my teammates there were great as well as speaking to me. But at least for my first time, I wanted to know somebody going over there.
For sure. And then after that year ended, you ended up going back to the coast with Allen. I mean, Allen, in terms of an East Coast franchise, it just kind of feels like they've been able to pull that CHL before that folded. Success. They were ridiculous in the Central League. I think they won it like 3 years in a row. And then, if I remember right, they won the Kelly Cup pretty quick after coming into the ECHL. So that must have been when they knocked on your door and said, "I want to come play in Allen." That must have been a really attractive proposition.
Yeah, so Allen was awesome and I'd never been to Texas before either, so that was super intriguing for me. I didn't know what to expect and honestly, I think I set the bar pretty low, or even if it was high, it blew everything out of the water. Like I thought Texas was awesome. We were like 20 minutes from Dallas. Our apartment facilities were unbelievable. Weather was awesome. And the team was great. And at the time we had Chad Costello, who was our captain, and he was in his last year. And he was kind of a guy that won all those championships you're talking about. I think he has 3 of them. And just we've looked him up just like as teammates and just kind of shown him, even though he hates it. But he when he was there, he was putting up like video game numbers. Like his numbers were insane to look at.
100 points a year. Yeah, he was ridiculous. I remember.
Yeah. So no, he was great, and his style of play was just super neat to watch because he was just so smart. Like whether he's on the tail end of his career and maybe didn't have the speed he used to have, like his smartness and his vision just kind of made up for everything. Just his awareness of where to be in that league. So he was great, and he really helped our team out a ton. And he obviously went on to coach the year after.
Yep.
So yeah, he was great. Allen was awesome. I had the best time down there. I was super fortunate to go down there.
Yeah, for sure. I think he went to the Dell as well, Chad. If I remember right, did pretty well there. And so that's a tough league to excel in. And I think it's pretty easy to get lost in the mix there. But yeah, I know he did well. No surprise when you see what he was able
seriously.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I don't know why. It was just one of those names that you remember just for being ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, we could talk about old CVs and old players all evening. But we're here to talk about you, Jake Dudek. So let's talk about going back to Sweden, because obviously, I mean, you had a lot of fun in Boden, so wanted to try again with Tranås. Tell us just a little bit about that, because I mean, obviously, you kind of decided to make a change halfway through the year and ended up falling on your feet in Coventry here. But tell us a little bit about that experience there in your second Hockey at 10 franchise, and then tell us a little bit about why you made the change.
Yeah, so just kind of to bring it back a little bit, just my first time going to Sweden, like I said, I knew I wanted to go there.
Yeah.
But with me wanting to go back was strictly off of how north I was in Boden. So I'm not a big winter guy, and I know there's
Understood.
winter in Sweden. I'm fine with that, but I was up by like Luleå, like Arctic Circle, and it was
Yep.
like 22 hours of darkness, like winter on steroids, and I was not prepared for that. So I loved my experience, the culture in Sweden. I thought it was unbelievable, and that's why I did want to go back. And I just wanted to try somewhere more in the south.
Sure.
So yeah, signed with Torontos and went there, and we had a really good team. And another thing that I was fortunate for, I was already comfortable to go over there with Swedish speaking and meeting all those guys just from doing my first year. But my goalie in Boden was in Toronto, so he's like from there, has played there for like 8-9 years, but during that COVID year he just wanted to pop up to Boden and try it. So I knew the goalie going in, which was again nice, just kind of going over far from your home and being familiar with somebody. So he made it super easy to be welcomed in, and so did the rest of the guys. Those guys were awesome, and we really, like, as a team, bought into something like we wanted to. And so that part was great. Reason for leaving, I just saw vision very well with my teammates, just didn't see a great vision with kind of the coaching staff and GM there. So it was kind of my decision to, it was a hard one too, just because like the stuff you build with those kind of guys is something you kind of don't want to leave, because you're kind of instilled with what you want to win there and win championships there. So it was a tough goodbye for sure for me, just with the kind of the guys I battle with. But it was my 4th year pro, and it was kind of one of those things that I usually don't do often, but I did need to look out for myself and get into a situation that I liked a lot better. So yeah, I started looking around, and I guess I got a couple of offers, but I always knew I wanted to play in the EIHL, and I didn't have Coventry as an offer before the year started. So when I had them in December, kind of come looking at me, then it was again, it was almost similar to the BC experience. It was just kind of a no-brainer for me. I knew I wanted to go to the league. I knew I wanted to be in England. So kind of got that call, and it was an easy yes for me. So
yep. And then, I mean, a lot of guys say this. I imagine it was the same for you. As soon as you have that first conversation with Stewie, it's so easy to just get hooked on his passion, his vision,
oh yeah,
what he wants to do, and he's just so straight up with guys, isn't he?
yeah,
He leaves it all out there. He doesn't hide anything. He's got nothing to hide.
yeah. And I think that was kind of something we bonded off. Just like you said, that first phone call, I kind of explained to him what I was dealing with in Sweden, and I'm a super honest guy, whether it's good or bad. Like I want to hear the bad so I can get better, and if it's good, let's keep it simple, and I'll try to exceed that. But no, just I was straight up with him. I was just like, I didn't even need to tell him because he was already honest. I was just like, I kind of just want honesty here, and I'm looking to grind for you. I kind of see what position you guys are in, and like I said, I'm just a guy who wants to help teams win championships. So yeah, he was super honest with kind of what I was going to get there, and I was just honest back, and I just told him I just wanted a spot there, get me out there for practice, and I'd like to kind of prove myself, and I'm very comfortable in my abilities, and whatever standards you have, I'd like to exceed those, and I kind of just want to let my hockey speak for itself. So no, he was super honest with me, and I was honest back, and it was really nice conversation, and kind of made it fun for the rest of the year I had there, and obviously made an easy decision to re-sign. So
yeah, and it felt like, and I spoke to a whole bunch of guys from last year, and it felt like we were super close to putting something together to win one of the 3 on offer, particularly in the cup and the playoffs there. And I think, like you were talking about, a little bit further back there about the bean pot, you have one bad night, it's so hard to reset in those competitions and come back. And unfortunately, you have those games in Guildford and Cardiff, just put them just slightly out of reach.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it was the first time I've ever played with kind of an aggregate score as well. I kind of came in and saw I got to come in and kind of sit and watch 2 games before I played. So the first game I watched was that Guildford one. We lost 5 or 6-0 in Guildford.
Yeah.
And then I watched the Belfast one at home. And then the first game I ended up playing for Coventry was the last Challenge Cup game, or ended up being the last Challenge Cup game. But it was kind of funny to get thrown into a game where like we needed to win by 6 at that. So
Yeah.
that was kind of interesting to me because it was my first time kind of learning about the league and I didn't really know what was going on. So that was interesting for that. I wasn't too much a part of the Challenge Cup. Like I said, that was the only game I got to play in for Challenge Cup. So, but with playoffs, it's kind of one of those where first night at home, play Cardiff, lose by a couple, and we go back there the next night and win. And it's like, all right, we're ready for game 3. It's like, oh, no, you're not. It's like, even though we won, it's like the aggregate score. So that's interesting. And I do get how it works. If we were on the winning end, I'd for sure be having a different opinion about it, I think.
Yeah.
But no, it was good to see our guys battle back, and that second night and get the win. Obviously, it wasn't enough to move on, but it was tough just because, like I said, you battle all year, and like I said, I wasn't even there all year, but it felt how close we got with the guys. At least for me, coming in December, it felt like I started the year there. So it was a tough one to swallow for sure.
I talked to Kooks about this a couple of weeks back, and he said something really, really similar to you in that it was kind of, particularly in that Cardiff scenario, all right, we got it back, and then actually you haven't got it back. You're done. But the thing he said, and I think it's probably true for you from reading between the lines, coming back for year 2, you're prepared for that. So when it comes around, that similar scenario, you're ready. And, you can share that with the guys around you as well.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, like I said, I'm going into my 5th year. I know we have guys returning and guys older than me, but we for sure have guys younger than me. And it's not like I didn't know, but it's something that you do need to drive home. Like, we're playing this first game. We had a 1-goal lead. So it's not, we're playing defense and trying to hold this 1-goal lead. It's no, we need to put up 5, 6. We need to win game 1 where there's not even a game 2 kind of thing. So
for sure.
Just kind of driving home 60 minutes, which is our goal every night, but it's tough to do that day in, day out. So it's just really driving home. Like, this is an important 60. I know we say it every night, and that is the game plan every night, but that 60 is important, especially when playoffs come around.
Sure. You had some really good chemistry with Cookie and Kirkup, and I'm pretty sure I'm up to date with signings, and those guys are back this year as well. So having the opportunity to, revitalize that chemistry is going to be pretty sweet.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's awesome. And like you said, those are 2 guys I played with, and with just some of our guys leaving, it's kind of nice how we have 3 guys who have played together all coming back. And no, they're awesome. They're good old Canadian boys, and they grind for sure, and they got a lot of skill. And it was awesome. They're 2 type of guys where we can talk to each other, say things that we liked what we did and stuff that we didn't like, so that the next shift it's better. And just kind of really holding each other accountable in like a professional, brotherly way. So no, they're great guys, and even better players. And so
you all came.
I'm excited for them to come back.
For sure. It's funny because you guys, like I said, you seem like you hit it off straight away. You all came into the Blaze in the same scenario. Like, Cookie came through halfway through the year last year, so you came in halfway through this year. Kirkup came in a little bit later. It's just funny how life works like that sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like Cookie before I got there. I'm sure somebody showed him the ropes, and he really enjoyed his experience and wanted to come back, and had this full year under his belt this year. And that's really how it worked for me. And obviously Kirky came in a little bit later, and I think he enjoyed his experience. That's why we got him back for 2 years. So it's really, and I kind of can't harp on this enough. And I think our coaches are doing a great job for this next year. But when I signed and I had that conversation with Stewie, all he could talk about was just the guys in our locker room, and not even their hockey abilities, just like what it's like in the locker room. And it's one thing to hear that, and then it's one thing to experience it. And it was one of, if not one of my most fun years playing hockey. So that group we had last year was unbelievable, and really made it fun to play and come to the rink every day. And the guys we lost, yeah, we're gonna miss them, but with these signings we're getting for the next year, and with talking to the coaches, it looks like they're doing a great job with getting just good human beings, good guys, whether kind of hockey plays into that or not. But no, I'm excited for this new group of guys we got as well.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you got signed pretty early on. I don't know whether you signed just before you left or just when you got back, but it was pretty early in the off season there. Are you one of the guys that kind of sits back and, you know, keeps in touch with who's signed, does a little bit of work on them, figures out who they played with that you might know, and kind of gets a bit pumped up? Because, buddy, that's my job. You know, I've got to get pumped up for the season. Check out, you know, guys that we've signed, where they played, who they played with, what they've won, all that kind of thing. And for me, you know, being on the outside of the ice, it's a pretty exciting group. So I'm intrigued to hear, you know, from your perspective, what it feels like.
Yeah. So I'm not a big like looking up elite prospects and stuff like that. I don't really look that up too much. So I kind of see them come around like the media page, and kind of see the teams they play for. Obviously, we get a college guy. It's kind of good to talk about college experience, and that's kind of like what my bond was with Kirky early on. I didn't know much about Bemidji when he came in, so it was cool to kind of ask him about how he liked school and like what the difference was from my school to his and all that. So I always like to see the college guys come in, because it's cool to share just different stories, different kind of leagues and divisions within NCAA. And then I've played with a ton of major junior guys, so I know what I'm getting with those guys. I know they're always a great time, but it's cool to kind of see the teams they come from, to see if I've played with a guy who's been on his team from major junior, and it's kind of conversation starter. It's like, oh, you know this guy, oh, I know this guy, and kind of gets you the ball rolling with getting the team gelling right away. So no, I know what I'm getting with major junior guys. They're always good dudes, and college guys, it's just kind of cool to hear kind of different experiences, because I only know mine, and it's cool to hear what they experience at theirs. So
for sure, it's part of the pro hockey life experience, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
for
you know,
sure.
guys
For
from all
sure.
walks, different experiences. And hey, listen, man, you know, you're going to play this as long as you can, but I think it sets you up pretty good for life after hockey, because, you know, you hit that office job or whatever it is you end up doing. So it's really similar, just you know, different industry.
For sure. Yeah, no, I mean, hockey's always been a big thing for me. I've done it since I was young, and you want to keep playing while it's fun, and you got to kind of find that time for you when you feel it's time. And I think it'll be a time for me when I know, but I definitely don't know now. I still love this game and still love to play. So that day hasn't come for me yet, but I'm excited to keep playing as long as I can, and see what we can do with it, at least this year with the Blaze. So
that's what we'd like to hear. Well, listen, it was pretty light out here in Coventry when we started this thing. It's pretty dark now, so I should probably wrap things up there, JD. But listen, man, this was awesome. Thank you so much for putting some time aside to do this. I appreciate it.
Of course, thanks for having me, Ed. I appreciate you.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us here on the Blaze TV podcast again. More of these episodes coming your way throughout the summer. Bye for now.